Rewire your brain for love. Creating Vibrant Relationships Using the Science of Mindfulness by Marsha Lucas, Ph.D. Chapter 5. Installing a Dimmer Switch. Emotional Resilience. Just can't shake the feeling. You had a conversation with your partner this morning. It went badly, and hours later you're still running it through your head and through your body, as you learned earlier. This kind of emotional stuckness can definitely get in the way of your capacity to be present in your relationships. It keeps grabbing you and pulling you back into the quicksand of painful past experiences. If only you could wrestle yourself free. You try thinking it over, running the argument through your mind over and over, trying to figure it out, but that just seems to leave you more engulfed in the swamp of feelings. Maybe anger, maybe worry, maybe sadness. Eventually, you seem to get over it. But then something minor, maybe even completely unrelated happens, and bam, you're right in the emotional fire swamp again. Maybe with your partner, or maybe with someone else who just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Back and forth, back and forth. Reminds me of a joke. A Ferrari and a bicycle pull up to the same stoplight. The bicyclist asks, "How fast can she go?" "Over 200 miles an hour." Wow! The bicyclist leans over, looks around inside the car. Sitting back up, he says, "It's fantastic." Just then, the light turns green and the Ferrari zooms off. The Ferrari driver tools along for a bit and suddenly, whoosh! The bicycle flies past him in a blur. What the? So he punches the accelerator. Suddenly, he sees the bicycle hurtling back toward him and it flies by again. He can't believe it. No way, he thinks. He slows down a little, wondering if he might be hallucinating. Looking in his rearview mirror, he sees the bicyclist coming up fast. The bicyclist manages to shout as he whips by, "Unhook my suspenders from your side view mirror." So, keeping your brain from getting flung about by your internal Ferrari of emotion would be a good thing. In chapters 3 and 4, you started to shift your primitive physical reactions and your fear out of the driver's seat. Now you can turn your attention to other emotional states and, when needed, recover from them more quickly, more mindfully. Not Mr. Spock. The term emotional regulation often confuses people. Won't I end up feeling kind of blah and boring if my emotions are so regulated? Or isn't being able to scream, sob, vent my anger what therapists are always telling us to do? Let's be clear. The idea isn't to get rid of your emotions or squash them down. Anger, fear, sadness, in fact, all your emotions serve important purposes. After all, the emotions you experience when your limbic system senses danger and punches the accelerator are sometimes literally life-saving. And emotions don't only serve to protect you. They are a vital, necessary part of being a human. They make life, relationships, work, parenting vibrant and worthwhile. We tend to think of certain emotions as negative or bad, but it's far more helpful to think of these seemingly negative forces as powerful tools. It's true that they can overwhelm us and fling us about mercilessly and unconsciously, but if we learn how to keep them from running our lives, the benefits and aliveness of experiencing them are like the difference between living in black and white versus Technicolor. If all you can experience is the extreme emotion, though, the surge of the engine, unintended collisions, blowing gaskets, or running out of gas, you're missing out on a lot. And if all you try to do is keep it in neutral with your foot on the brake, you're missing even more. I've heard Daniel Goleman, Ph.D., say it really well, what we're aiming for with emotional resilience. To stay with the discomfort, to not run toward the hedonic, and to be able to choose a more mindful response. You can hold in awareness the feeling of wanting to avoid. You get the strength so that even distressful feelings can remain in awareness without overwhelming you. So you're neither dodging the emotions nor indulging yourself or drowning in them. Once you've faced the emotions and expressed them, to yourself and perhaps to others, mindfully, you'll find that it's much easier to have a rich emotional life without being jammed up, periodically volcanic, or emotionally limp. As Richard Davidson, Ph.D., put it, negative emotion is one which persists beyond the time it is useful. Regulation means it doesn't persist, and that you can return to baseline. Bingo!